All right, so we're on finally the last lesson of chapter 4. Take a look at the problem of the day and solve it first. Pause the video, and then when you're ready, continue on with the lesson. So we have lesson 4.9, solve quadratic inequalities, part 2. Now you might be wondering, why is it part 2? Well, way back we did part 1 where we graphed quadratic inequalities. We're rounding out the chapter with solving quadratic inequalities as the last part. So let's take a look here. The reason why we split it up is because of the fact that we just got done solving quadratics with the quadratic formula. So let's take a look at what happens when we change the equal sign to inequality. So example 1, solve the following inequality algebraically. X squared minus 2x greater than or equal to 15. We first treat it as if it was an equal sign and to get everything over to the left. Now, just as a little side note here, I'm going to use the quadratic formula for all these, but if you realize like factoring or complete the square or any other method, you are allowed to use it. Because I want like a one-time deal kind of problem, I'm just going to simply stay with the quadratic formula. So, before we could use the quadratic formula, what I need to do is I need to get everything over to the left-hand side. X squared minus 2x minus 15 greater than or equal to 0. Now I'm going to label what A, B, and C are. A is 1, B is negative 2, C is negative 15. Don't forget with the quadratic that you're not actually going to use any of the variables. And now you'll see I'm using the quadratic formula. I'm plugging all my values. I simplify, which you should be pretty familiar with since we just did this in the last lesson. Let's see if you can see this a little bit better. The fractions sometimes you can't see. Anyway, these are fraction bars. So take a look at how we solve them. We get 2 plus minus 8 over 2. So maybe I should just draw a little line here so you can see that. I break it up into 2 plus 8 over 2, which is 10 over 2, which is 5. 2 minus 8 is negative 6. Negative 6 over 2 is negative 3. So this part you should be okay with. This is if it was an equal sign. Here's the deal now. The deal now is we have to test on a number line. It's an inequality. We don't know where we have to shade. Is it an and or an or compound inequality? All right, so what I'm going to go off by doing is, you see my little number line there. I'm going to draw the negative 3 here. I'm going to draw the 5 here. It doesn't really matter. By this point, you guys know number line. We're just going to label the two numbers there. Now, we start off by saying, remember back in the day I said, is it an open or is it a closed circle? If you remember, this is greater than or equal to, so why don't you take a second to draw those two closed circles there. There's one, there's the other. Now, how to test where to shade? We're going to pick some numbers here. I want to pick one number, and I have it set up here. I want one number to the left of negative 3, I want one in the middle, one on the right. So I'm going to go with negative 4, and that will correspond here. In between these numbers, you can pick whatever you want, actually for any of them. I like 0. 0 is usually an easy number to pick, and it falls in between them. And then I'm going to also do 6 here. So it doesn't actually matter what you pick. I just want you to pick them and plug them back into the original. Each number. So this is going to tell us where to shade here. So I plug in negative 4. Move this over. So I'm going to do this for each of them. So I plug my value negative 4 in here, and I see what I get. And I want to see if it's a true statement or not. So I get 16 plus 8 greater than or equal to 15. And 16 plus 8 is 24 greater than or equal to 15. And I ask myself, is this a true statement? Is 24 greater than or equal to 15? Hopefully you realize it's yes. Now we're going to do the same thing for the middle one. I'm going to do this each time. We want to see where we need a shade. So we're simply plugging in another set. And what do I get? I get 0 squared, which is 0. 0 minus 0. I get 0 greater than or equal to 15. And I ask myself, is this a true statement? Is 0 greater than or equal to 15? Hopefully you said no, that's false. You can probably even see where we're going with this, but let's just do the last one as well. Plug in 6. And remember, you can pick whatever numbers you want as long as they fall in between those 3 spots on the number line. Last but not least, I get what? 24 greater than or equal to 15, which is true. So where do we need to tie this in with the number line with the final answer? All right, see where they are true? It's on the outer edges. Go back to your number line. I want you to shade. Shade where it's true. So it's this end and it's this end. Here's our number line. Now, one last thing we want to write as a compound answer. This isn't our final answer. This is an or compound inequality, right? Because the shading's on the outer edges. So how I would write it, and that's why the number line's sort of nice. We want to see that. We're going to say x is less than or equal to -3, or x is greater than or equal to 5. And that finally is our final answer. So x less than or equal to -3, or x greater than or equal to 5. Now you notice I'm doing the quadratic formula. One other little side note here is you could have factored this and got the same answers. So if you recognize the factoring pattern, knock yourself out, that's completely fine. I just teach it one way in case that you would forget any of that. All right, so one more example, and I'm just leaving everything up for this one. You might want to pause the video and actually solve it, but we do the same thing again. Be careful with this one. It's already set to 0, and there's no c, so c is 0. So just be careful of your answer here. You get 3 and 0. Make sure you're okay with that. And remember, this is another one where you could have factored. When we go to the number line test, let's put 0 there and 3 there. That's where they would be related in the problem, right? And I have less than, so it's an open circle for each of them. Once again, we're going to pick a number to the left, pick a number in the middle, pick a number to the right. So I'm just going to go, remember, you can pick whatever you want. I'm going to go -1. Between these, I'm going to do 1. To the right, let's do 4. All right. So once again, we plug those into the original and see if it's true or false. Careful here, -1 quantity squared is 1, right? So I get what? 12 less than 0. 12 less than 0 is false. Let's move on to the next one. I get -6 less than 0, which is true. Let's do that last one here. Fix that here. Be careful when you're gonna square the 4 first. So you get 16, and 16 times 3 is 48, minus 36, greater than 0, or less than 0. You get 12 less than 0. And lo and behold, we know that one is false as well. So let's see where we shade. We shade the middle one. All right, so let's do that right here. And if I look, this is what? This is an and compound inequality where we're shading in the middle. So here's how I write those. Don't forget, you have the inequalities pointing to the left and x in the middle. The number to the left of x is the number to the left, which is 0. The number to the right is the number here. And that's my answer. So I get x, and this is how I read it. X is greater than 0 and less than 3. All right, that's it for today's lesson. Homework. Oh, and I should change this here real quick. Should be homework. Problem of the day from the front. And I give you 2 practice problems to try them out as well. And that's it.